Miss Farah, are we going to wait for a while, is it?
Yes, we can wait. Maybe we can start 9:35.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay,
And
thank you. Hi, Miss G. You may start.
okay. You all can see my PowerPoint, right?
Yes.
Okay, slideshow. Good morning, everyone. My name is my name is Chen. I'm from School of Engineering. I'm presenting today on behalf of our research seminar teams, which is listed as Mr. Mason, me, Miss Goding, Dr. Goding Ding, and To Sun Bing. I'm Muhammad, JK Basir, and Kot Tatan. So our research title actually is exploring the temperature characteristic response in prototype fixed bed drying using a Raspberry Pi controller and the pulse wave modulation signal. So this research focused on improving the efficiency of thermal pre-treatment in the waste management through the innovative engineering solutions. So this is my presentation outline. Okay, and I will start with the introduction. So this figure actually illustrates two problematic disposal practice, which is the open dumping and open burning. So different waste type from municipal solid waste and SW to the hazardous contribute to the several issues like pollution, disease spread, and global warming. So proper waste management poses a significant environment and health challenge globally, and Malaysia is not an exception. So in Malaysia, 80 to 90 of waste disposed in landfill. So this will lead to the environment and human health problem. So one of the promising solution in this thermal treatment, particularly in the incineration, which can reduce the waste volume by 95% and the mass by 80 to 85%. However, the adoption of the incineration technology in Malaysia have been limited due to several challenges, such as the high operation costs and technical difficulty. So particularly in handling the high moisture contents of MSW. So to address this challenge, we require an innovative solution that enhance the efficiency of the waste processing, and then particularly by optimizing the pre-treatment phase. So this is the diagram which lay out the hierarchy of Malaysia ISSWM strategy, which is the integrate solid waste and sustainability management strategy. which category into conventional treatment, biological treatment, and also the thermal treatment. So the problem statement is a large number of researchers were engaged in the optimization of parameters, including the temperature, the heating rate, incidence time, and also the N2 flow rate. This is a lack of the research that has throughout the examined heat rate in the critical manner. It is required to reduce the mass and the moisture content of MSW before send it to the landfill. So the VM, the volatile matter, okay, to be removed it between the temperature of 150 to 215 degrees Celsius. This VM actually decrease of the higher heating value, while the HHV increase when the temperature above 250 degrees Celsius. So Malaysia actually is looking forward to this incineration technologies, so to improve this problem. So several market solutions like using the PID controller for heater controller is there, but however it's lack of the heating rate controller. So our objective actually is to design a flexible heater which can be adjusted the parameter of the temperature, duration, or also the heating rate. Second objective is to design the initial heater layout for fabrication purpose using the CAD tools. And the third one is to analyze the heating rate characteristic of a custom-made heater. So this is our thermal pre-treatments prototype that we are going to make and analyze on it. So in this heater, actually, this is the top view, side view, and the front view for the heater. This is drawn using the AutoCAD, and this is a proposed model for the CMFBTT system. Okay. So in this design, actually, this is the block diagram for this FBD design, which is we have the first one is our insulator box, and then we have our electric heater at the bottom of the boxes, and then we're using the Raspberry Pi to control it. And on top of the box, actually, we have the K-type thermocouple to measure the temperature. And all this is controlled using the Raspberry Pi. And we have the Max driver and the SSR, MCB, and the ELCB. And it is supplied through the 240 watts supply. We use the Raspberry Pi to control the thermocouple here. So in our design, actually, this is again, is a top view design, which our prototype already done. And in the isometric view here, actually, you can see how the ceramic fiber brackets is located. And we are using the standard steel structures and covered with the wooden cover. This is our completed Raspberry Pi controller heater system, the overview of this. And then in these pictures, okay, we can see that, okay, our output value of this K-type temperature sensor compared to the ProKits readings in the 105 degrees Celsius, which is plus minus of 5%. Okay, this is 104 in our system. And this is the tables which list down the PWM percentage with the change of the heating rate. So from 30% of PWM until 100% of PWM, we can see that actually the heating rate is slowly increased. And from these tables, okay, we able to get formulas of heating rate of 0.193 multiplied with PWM plus with the 5.022. And in this result, we can get that our in our system, our PWM actually equal to the heating rate minus with 5.022 over 0.193. So comparing with the data and the trend line, actually is quite a linear line for this. Okay, as a conclusion, our research successful to deliver our custom-made 500 watts lab scale fixed bed dryer and tested tested a flexible and precise heating system for the pre-treatment of MSW. The custom-made fixed bed dryer controlled by this Raspberry Pi using the PWM system offered the significant improvement in the temperature control and the heating rate flexibility. Second is it able to do the temperature control, which is this dryer able to operate across the temperature range from the obedient to the 200 degrees Celsius with the precise control over the heat rate. We achieved the heating rate range from 1.7034 degrees Celsius per minute to 14.7 degrees Celsius per minute, depending on the PWM duty cycle use. And the thermal, this system exhibit an overshoot percentage of less than 5%, which is very crucial for our maintenance stability and consistent temperature during the drying process. And the pre-treatment process using our dryer was effectively in reducing the oxygen to carbon and the hydrogen to carbon ratio of the MSW. This reductions is significant as it lead to a higher HHV and making the waste more suitable for subsequently incineration process. So our study is not only address the technical challenge faced by the existing waste management system in Malaysia, but it's also provide a scalable solution that can be adapted for the broader application in the waste to energy process. Okay, so our system also have a user-friendly GUI, which the user can have the flexibility to adjust all the parameter that we need in an experiment. Okay. For the future works, we will use the other software. We will utilize the design expert software to analyze the effect of the temperature, duration, also the heating rate, and then comparing to the optimization method with the conventional approach using the 105 degrees Celsius and with the 24 hours of protocol. So this is the referencings that we use for our research. And that's all for my presentation.
Thank you so much, Miss G. So I open the floor for any question.
No question. Next.
Okay. No question. Now maybe you can elaborate how is this project will maybe benefit the environment, for instance?
Actually, this is like a waste management system where we are not using the open drying methods, open burning methods. We are using the open dumping, but open dumping, if you just simply dump in area, actually it will make it like pollutions to the environment. So why what our system is trying to do is we keep all these waste in the open dummy and then we burn it. So we can reduce the waste, reduce the weight so that it's not so heavy for disposal as well. And then this waste maybe we can use for the bio oil to produce some bio oil or others parameters of materials that you can be reused.
Okay, alrighty. Okay, thank you so much, Miss G, for sharing this with us today. Okay, so thank you so much again for first presenter, and now I would like to call upon for our second presenter, Mr. Method. Thank you.
Okay, can I start?
Yeah, you may start. Thank you so much.
Okay. So are you able to see my sharing screen?
Not really.
No.
What about now?
Yes.
Yes, now can.
Okay, yeah, I'm Mason from School of Engineering. Today I would like to present my research work, the title called Optimization of Spartinus Macrosy Drying Efficiency Using Response Surface Methodology. And this research actually from the team members of Rifayat, Ketmonli, Chen, Dr. Go, Dr. Mastani, and Dr. Muhammad J.K. Basir. Okay, alternative name for this spinous macrosy actually called soap nut. So we can see the soap nut actually content of the skin. So people actually use the skin for the purpose of organic soup, and then people will throw away the seeds, like we can see from this black color. Yeah, so actually we try to recycle or we reuse the waste material to turn the waste material into the valuable products. We can see that these soap nuts actually they are a lot near to the Himalayas, and normally we can see India, Nepal, or some of the part of the China. They actually consist of this a lot of this soap nut which threw away. So we can see here. Yearly, Nepal, they are exporting about so many tons of this soap nut to other countries. So that means the seeds left behind, they threw away a lot. So why not we try to turn it into the valuable products? Yes, many people already done the research on the biomass, a lot of different of biomass. So we try to choose something that not many researchers working on it, which is this soap nut lah. Yes, this is the fruits that we can see before process. Okay, soap nuts. Yes, this is the seeds that people they threw away. So when we open up, we can see insides of the materials of the biomass. We still can reuse and to make the next process. Yeah, you can see that this is how the factories they actually try to remove the skin, okay, for the natural soap. Right, and this is what they throw away, the seeds. This is a geography area from the country produce a lot of this kind of fruits. Now we look at this waste material, what we can do. Yeah, actually we able to convert it into the bio oil. After from bio oil, we can also turn into the different products like biofuel, beauty cream and oil, chemical, lubricants, and medicines. Now the problems down here, most of the people that they use traditional drying method STM D4 442 system to dry the material before we move on to the next process, which are the pyrolysis, gasifications, and torrefactions. So this is the temperatures 103 degrees Celsius for 24 hours. Why we need to dry it? Because the high moisture content is actually affect the output use during of the pyrolysis process or gasifications and torrefactions process. The use here we have biochar, bio oil, and biogas. People call syngas. So that's why we need to look into the alternative way to improve whether we can reduce the durations. Finding the optimum parameters. for this pre-treatment of this biomass. So now here we have a machine. Ms. G that presented. Okay, that machine that we are using it to continue our research project. So Python program, yes, and optimization of parameters using the response surface methodology. So yeah, we have been study a few of the journals paper. Yes, we can see quite a number of journal paper actually using the conventional method with these parameters. Also the yields, what they got it, the yields, so we can compare. Now, majority, this is the studies of the result. We can see that the HHV, calorific value actually is how much energy can produce from this bio oil, the energy. Reasons using soup nuts to produce the bio oil because it's a very higher oil containment of oil, and the HHV higher heating value is quite high, 40 mJ per kg, and again is a very free US raw materials, and we're able to convert this into the biochar and the bio oil. Biochar is like charcoal. Some people use it to produce pellet, okay, to use for other purpose. So improve the conventional pre-treatment process of biomass. Expected outcomes, yes, to optimize the parameters to optimize bio oil using the RSM. We use the latest technology currently, famous Raspberry Pi, low cost, and also up to the industry standard for the data collections and temperatures control and observations. Try to generate the value from non-value products. Improve the drying process, okay, which is time and cost effective. Yes, the talk about environment issue is CF4. Through this process, actually, we can bring down the waste direct to the open dam for the landfill purpose. So before goes to the landfill, through this process, we can reduce the CF4, CO2, and CO, carbon monoxide, and other gases pollutes the environment. So this is overall of the methodology. Yes, this is one of the software, okay, called CCD, Center Composite Design. So it's actually a response surface design, which after we carry out the experiment, we key in the yields into this software, and it's able to help us to predict, to produce which of the parameters actually able to produce the highest of the result of our bio oil that we want it. And also it also provide a 3D model that we can do a further analysis. So this is a system that what we have in the labs to carry out the experiment. So we actually key in what is our maximum and minimum for the factor 1 and factor 2. So in this study, we have time and temperatures. So when we key in the maximum and minimum for the times, the durations of operations, and the temperatures, and this CCD able to generate about 20 experiments or 12 experiments. So we just follow the parameter here. And then here 3 parameters, and the heating rate also. 2 parameters, we need about 12 experiments. 3 parameters, we need about 20 experiments. So this table actually was generated by this design expert software, CCD. And we carry out the experiment. So after that, we key in the result. Yes, this is a response that we key in. This is the actual meaning the result. We did it from the experiment. And this is a prediction from the software. And the software actually asks us to use quadratic equation is the best of the to show that the mathematic model for these 3 parameters. Yeah, and yeah, we can see that the effect, if temperature increase, well, what is the yields that we're going to show us? At the end, we can see that the proposed to get the highest yields result is 6.5 5 hours and at 150 degrees Celsius at the heating rate of 11 Celsius per minute respectively. So we can see this graph. Red color actually is the maximum, can produce a maximum of the output use. This is the lowest from the blue color. So from this peak, this red color show that we use to temperatures of 200. That the time is about 10 hours. Yes, depends what maximum that we want. Sometimes not necessarily up to 10 hours. From this result, from this graph, we can see actually 9 hours also can get a quite scientific result. No need to do experiment up to 10 hours. Yeah, these are from the other parameters. Yeah, this is another diagram. Also, we can do a very flexible adjustment. If we want to reduce the duration of the operation heating, we also can observe what is the expectations of the moisture that we can remove by using this graph. We also did the model validations to validate how accuracies from these 20 experiments through using this design expert software. The conclusions, yes, we managed to find another alternative also able to produce highest output of the use by using the 8 hours or 200 degrees Celsius or 15 degrees Celsius per minute. Yes, we have completed the data, Python data collections. Also, the optimization process was done using the response surface methodology. Okay, thank you. This is my presentations.
Wow, very fast. I couldn't catch a breath. Okay, thank you so much for sharing, Mr. Mason. So I open the for Q&A. If anyone would like to ask any question or yeah, if you have anything in mind. Okay, since there's no question, but our next presenter will be Dr. Nishita. I guess she is not in yet. Never mind. I have a question. Maybe from my side. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I am not sure whether it's the correct question to ask, but yes, it's a question.
No problem,
So
discussions, don't worry.
it's okay. Alrighty. So what are the objectives that you and your team may look into for in a long run?
Yes. This process is a long run actually. We can try to use a lot of different materials and to apply the similar methods. Yeah, because there are many like ways. So we can try to use different ways then to try to find out which of the material actually able to in the future can produce a better bio oil. And from bio oil, actually, we can do another process, which to turn the bio oil into the biofuel. Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Mason. I guess we can have a short break for a while. Maybe we can go to toilet something. Okay. We will meet again 10:50.
Okay.
Alrighty. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
everyone.
Farah.
Stay
Thank
put,
you.
yeah.
Bye.
Thank
Okay.
you. Hi everyone. Okay, so we are back from our break just now. So I have been told that our next presenter, Dr. Nisha, she got class. So she will be at 10:30. So we will continue our second break, maybe another toilet break. See you around 10:30. Thank you. Hello, hi everyone. So welcome back. Dr. Nisha already in. So
Hello.
thank you, Dr. Nisha. Hi.
Sorry, I was in class just now.
It's okay. Thank you for coming. So you have your session at 10:35. Maybe you can have a breath for a while. Bring catch some breath. Okay, so the stage is yours. Thank you.
Right, sure. So can I start or what, Farah?
Yeah, you may start if you want. Now, is it okay for you?
Mm. Just give me a minute. Give me
Sure, can.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. So I'm sorry I'm late. So today I'm going to present my one of my papers, which is presented in recently in June at the 12th Asian Conference of Mechanical and Materials Engineering. So this is actually part, okay, this paper is being presented in Japan recently in June during the conference. And this is part of my students' work, Fazli and Gautam. So we actually submitted this paper in this topic on mechanical behavior of UvO3 treated tapioca reinforced polylactic acid biocomposites. All right, so I was representing their work and presented it in our conference. So today I'm going to share with you what actually does this whole research program project is, right? So this research is under our FRGS grant. So it's one part of this the project. Right. So today I will talk about all this. Okay, you guys can see my screen, right? So here we can see the first picture there, 10 million. 10 million tons of plastic are dumped in our oceans annually. That's equal to more than a garbage truckload every minute. So just imagine every minute there's about 10 million tons of plastic being dumped. So what happens to this plastic? Only less than 9% of all these plastics are they recycled, okay, are recycled. So meaning out of this 10 million of tons of plastic, only 9% is being recycled. All other 50% of these plastics are single-use purpose, meaning, you know, like Maggie cup or the cup that you go Starbucks and eat, you take and you throw. You take, use and throw. That is single-use plastic. 1 million of marine animals are killed by plastic pollution every year. 100% of mussels tested have contained microplastics. So recently also in PD, we have this issue where a lot of mussels have been contaminated, and humans eat over 40 pounds of plastic in their lifetime. So just imagine you're taking a lunch and suddenly you're actually consuming all this microplastic. So basically there will be more plastic in our oceans than fish by 2050. So statistics have shown this facts. This is the motivation of the whole project. We are coming out with something to solve this problem. Okay, so we are coming out with some sort of biodegradable plastics or the biodegradable material that able to overcome or reduce all this environmental pollution. And this is aligned with our SDG goal number 12, responsible consumption and production. So what are the current alarming issues like what you see in the facts here? What you saw in the facts just now? The alarming issue is actually a lot of plastics being generated. There's a lot of plastic being dumped in the ocean. There's a lot of plastic in the landfill where it's creating a lot of unwanted greenhouse gases. And all these plastics are using our natural resources. So since we are moving towards a sustainable nation, so we are trying to come out with all these biodegradable to protect the environment. Okay, so this is linear economy versus circular economy. Linear economy is like how the single-use plastic works. You take, you use, you throw. So this is a cradle to grave concept if you look in terms of life cycle analysis study. Yeah, so it's not sustainable. But the diagram on my right-hand side, this diagram here, so this diagram, they actually show us the circular economy. That means cradle to cradle. Okay, when you come in, you put in cradle, then you cradle, meaning that whatever that you consume after the shell life, you can use that product, material, or process as an input to another product or process. So this is circular economy where now the trend towards sustainable in our as sustainable direction, we are all going towards this circular economy approach. Okay, so that's why we came out with this green alternative. So we are using polylactic acid. So polylactic acid is a type of thermoplastic material that can be biodegradable. Okay, so it's made from renewable resources like corn, soya, wheat. Okay, and we are using this polylactic acid to be integrated into our natural fiber to come up with a natural fiber reinforced polymer composite. So studies have shown that PLA is actually increasing. People are using PLA a lot. Why? Because it's biodegradable, is sustainable, is food contact stage. Then our natural fiber that we use is actually tapioca starch. Okay, tapioca starch is also easily available in our Asian market. So if you guys look at the picture here, basically I'm taking this material, it's just like cooking. So I'm taking this material, PLA, which is sustainable, biodegradable. Then I'm taking this tapioca starch, your ubi kayu, and in Malay is ubi kayu. Then I come up with this PLA composite matrix and we come up with a plate, okay, a biodegradable plate. So this is what I'm actually doing. But it's not like just mixing like that. You have to know the art of mixing. So the main problem here is PLA. So PLA, everyone is doing PLA because it's a biodegradable polymer. But PLA on its own is very, very expensive and it's very brittle. So if you want to use it in a composite, you have to solve this problem first. So what we do by solving this problem, we are adding natural fiber. What are we adding? We are adding a tapioca starch inside. Okay. Now, once we have solved the first problem, the second problem is the incompatibility between the PLA's chemical structure, which is hydrophobic, and tapioca starch chemical structure, which is hydrophilic. So in this case, the incompatibility, they don't mix. So they don't like each other, and they really cannot get numb each other, right? So what we do is we try to put in certain surface modification to make sure there is a linkage between them where they connect well. All right. So we are coming up with a surface modification technique. But people have done surface modification techniques. So my third objective here is actually to come out with a new novel surface modification technique where we use UV and ozone so that we don't use acid and alkali treatment. So we are tackling three problems here. So the first is on the PLA where we introduce tapioca starch. Then we introduce surface modification technique. Then we want to reduce the problems faced by the conventional surface modification technique. So we came out with the new novel surface modification technique. So these are my objectives. First, to design a PLA-TS biocomposite, then to investigate the surface modification, and then to evaluate the mechanical performance. So this specific conference that I presented is just to look into the fundamental part, whether the surface modification take place, and also to only evaluate the mechanical performance. So these are my process flow. You guys can just go through. So first I take my tapioca, then I treat it with my UVO3 machine, and then I form the bond here. So if you can see here, this is the bond that I said initially they don't interact. So after the bond, they actually mix well. Then I add PLA, I mix, I crush, then I get a mold. Okay. So this is the mold that I did. So for the surface modification technique, so this is the machine, the chamber that we use. So this is the UV lights here. And this is the tapioca starch that we put in. So basically, this whole thing, there will be, if you see in the tube here, there is a ozone gas going in. So this ozone gas will react with this UV light where they will break the bond. Okay, they will break the bond so that in a easier concept to understand. So initially it's a smooth surface like this, then it will break the bond. They will have a formation of hydroxyl groups on the surface and form the network. So they will be easily merged, and where there is a better compatibility between them, then we have a better properties. So in order to justify whether the whole surface modification took place or not, so we actually confirmed it with our FTIR analysis between the untreated and the UVO treated. So there is an OH stretching bond at this band that proves that there is a hydrogen group and also a carboxyl groups from oxidation. All right. We also confirm our TGA and DSE analysis. These are all just a fundamental characterization where we actually confirm the surface modification took place. So after we have confirmed that, then what we do, we mixed it, we formed the composite using our injection molding method. We took ASTM D638 and we actually got a comparative study between a virgin, that means a neat PLA, and then we add PLA just with tapioca starch. And then we compared it with our UVO3 treated tapioca with PLA. So from this diagram here, you can actually see UVO3 treated, it's comparable. So comparing to the neat PLA, by adding tapioca, we actually reduce the cost. At the same time, we get a better tensile strength or mechanical properties. Same goes to the Young's modulus. So Young's modulus, we have a better properties. Okay, we have better for the UVO3 treated. So this is also done for microstructure. We also done some microstructure analysis. So this is for untreated. This is for UVO3 treated. So as a conclusion, the modification, it addressed this compatibility issue between this hydrophobic polymer and hydrophilic natural fiber. And then we have confirmed by our FTIR, TGA, and DSC that the surface modification actually takes place. And then we have proved that from our testing that we have enhanced the tensile strength and enhanced the stiffness comparing with untreated PLA. And we also have the surface STM micrograph to show and support the improved surface characteristic in the UVO3 treated plant. So these are some of the future works being done by my student currently. So we actually want to 3D print on, one of it is to 3D print the material, and then of course to optimize the surface modification, and also to do a comprehensive material characterization, which we have already done that part. And we also have already 3D print, and we have also done the optimization. So that's all. Thank you. So I would like to acknowledge this whole project is under our fundamental research grant. So I would like to acknowledge them and School of Engineering, UOW Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nisha, for sharing such a interesting topic. So I would like to open the floor for any question. If anyone would like to ask further, would like to dig more into the topic.
Yes, I think Ayah Premesh have question there.
If someone raise their hand, raise their hand.
Yes.
Or he accidentally raise their hand. But from my side, I have a question, Dr. Nisha, not
Yes, yes, Farah.
just a question. Okay. So how does actually plastic production contribute to the climate crisis as a whole?
Again,
How in your opinion, how does this plastic production can contribute to the climate crisis?
climate crisis. Okay, that was in my first slide. Okay, when we consume a lot of plastic, what happens? When we consume a lot of plastic, we just take and throw it, right? After we use. But plastic, they don't degrade. They take 1,000 years, 100 years to degrade. They just remain there. We will not be alive anymore, but the plastic was still there. So this is the problem. So all this plastic will actually cause a lot of chemical gases, toxic gases that will be released to the environment, where our carbon footprint will increase. So this will actually cause global warming. This is on the environmental side, global warming. And also people dump all these plastics into the seas, oceans, and so on. So all these sea proteins, that means our fishes, our tortoise, turtles, they actually consume all this plastic, microplastic. And who is consuming our fish? Humans. So it's not only harming the environment, but it's also harming ourselves as humans. So it's like a cycle, you know. You throw plastic, you are going to get harmed from the plastic. So this is how plastic production is actually being a big threat to our environment. So we really need to do something. So that's why there's a lot of recycling initiative, but not everything can be recycled. And there is a lot of cost that is involved in recycle. According to the statistics, there's now about 9 to 10% only is being recycled. So what happened to the 90%? They are actually going to our landfill. So they're actually coming out with toxic, coming out, and you know, all this global warming comes in. So did I answer you, Farah?
Yes, thank you. That is
Dr. Nishita, can I ask a question?
Yes. Yes, I
yes,
have.
please
Okay,
go ahead.
sorry, just now was just a technical error. Okay, when you say microplastic, actually, what kind of a size do we can determine microplastic? As in micron size or how?
Yeah. So microplastic is something that if based on my understanding, when plastics they break down into smaller parts. So this smaller part we call it as microplastics because we don't know it exists.
Mhm,
Okay, so let's say the water that is not being filtered out properly. So there
mhm.
will be some microplastics exist there, where it sometimes in nano scale as well. So these plastics that cannot be seen is only can be treated with with UV lights and all that. So we are actually consuming that. This is a big threat because we cannot, if big plastics, bigger size plastic, we can see, we can take, we can do something about it. But this microplastic, we can't simply collect it because we can't see it.
So basically, if you just say most of the oceans or at the sea, most of them will throw the plastic bottles or any plastic. So they actually is quite a bigger size and a normal bottle standard size. How long would you
Mhm.
think that this one can be degraded up to a smaller micron size? Because there will be some time, right? Something like that. Because
Yeah.
any
So
initiative we cannot take the micron. To churn an ocean is not easy to take out the powder size of micron, particles and so on. But the initiative will be more from the larger scale where we can determine the size and bring it out. So is there a time lapse for this?
Okay, so for microplastic, right, just now, is something that is smaller. Anything smaller than 5 mm is considered microplastic. So this is actually a threat. So usually I'm really not sure about the timeline, how plastic actually degrades to a smaller particles. But this smaller particle is like, let's say when we wash something, right? So something, anything less than 5 mm, it's not cannot be tracked by our filtration system. Sometimes our filtration system is not so precise that we can track. This will go to the ocean. So this ocean, when it goes to the ocean, it will just remain there. It will cause all these planetary boundary issue like ocean acidification. So this is something that initially it's not a big alarming issue because it's still within the boundary. But currently, since our plastic production or plastic uh, usage is increasing, so all these plastics are being transformed into microplastic and going to the ocean. So we are actually, we don't know, I'm really not sure on how long is the process, but to a long term where our future generations, they will be affected. We might maybe not affected, but in future, maybe in another 20, 30, 100 years, all these microplastics will be a very harmful thing for our environment.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Nishita. Okay. Anyone with a question? Thank you, Premesh, for such a good question. Your session is next. So, is there anyone would like to ask before Dr. Nisha session will be ended soon?
Okay, I think no questions. Thank you
I
so much,
think so
Farah.
too. Thank you so much, Dr. Nishata. So I would like to call upon Premesh Lad to continue for our fourth session. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, can you see my slides?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you, Chen.
Okay, good morning. My presentation slides today is the title is given as Engineering Laboratory IAQ Monitoring, which is a real-time solution using Raspberry Pi and Grafana dashboard. Okay, so this is actually an initiative of my student, Fan Haopin, who has really came up with this project title and also done the entire prototype and the measurement part. Okay, okay, I'll just skip this part. Okay, introduction. So of course, the IAQ here stands for indoor air quality, which is referred to the air quality in the building environment. And of course, in many cases, estimated there was what in our literature there was about 3 million people who die prematurely due to indoor air pollutions. Of course, in many cases, in the norm, we always focus on the outdoor pollutions. Okay, and so far we have neglected much on the indoor environments and indoor temperature, indoor humidities, or indoor the air quality basically. Okay, so what is the component of indoor air quality is actually basically we consists of not there's quite actually a lot, but I'm just quite focused on the areas of particulate matter, carbon dioxide, and VOC also is one of the common trend. Depends on the location of the areas, more outdoor or poor air infiltrations where we have dust and smokes. So of course this one will lead into chronic health issues and so on. Indoor environments such as temperature, relative humidity, if the imbalances of these uh, readings, okay, we can cause discomforts to the occupants and aggravates air quality. Basically, what it tells you is that if your air quality indoor is not very good, okay, which means that there is some imbalances of temperature and humidity, and there is dust, there is smoke, or basically there is particulate matter. Okay, particulate matter we have come into two sizes, okay, 10 and 2.5. Basically, you will have some problems in your health, but this is relatively chronic. Okay, you don't see in the day. It could be depends on your level of exposure while you are indoors. Of course, this is quite a common trend in the some of the literature reviews that because between the year of 2020 to 2022, I think relatively we have been indoors a lot due to the COVID thing. Okay, but in our experiment, we actually done a little bit of a focus area on the office spaces and buildings, classroom, and so on. And there are many initiatives have been done in testing on determining the IAQ in classrooms and so on. But of course, our concern here will be quite focused in the safety environmental, especially in the laboratory, the areas in the institution of higher learning. The reason is because these are areas where many students spend their time in doing their workshop, their activities, their laboratories, and so on. Of course, it's very important for us to understand that many engineering activities definitely lead to some detrimental air issues indoors. Okay, and it's very important that this area which is not been much investigated. So in this case, we have done some survey in the University of Wollongong itself in our laboratory areas. We have done some survey to get the idea of students' experience on how what they feel the environmental situation they are breathing. Do they feel any smells or whatever? They feel that there's some dizziness and some they feel nausea or some they feel like a headache and so on, or they feel that there's something not right with the air. So we have done survey of this, and we have taken few surveys we have taken in the laboratory areas. So we have determined that the engineering workshop in our workshop and automation laboratory and the electrical electronics. So these are the three labs we took the data, and we found out that the students has a very unpleasant experience, especially in the automation laboratory, okay, which is a 41%, and 21% electronic laboratory is quite less, and 38% in the engineering workshop. Okay, so these are just a student survey we have done, and we further focus on these two engineering workshop and automation laboratory. So for that, actually, we have done some literature reviews, and I think I'll just skip on the literature review part. Okay, these are just the cases where many other researchers have done in certain schools and also in the environmental in their own laboratory in the universities and so on. Okay, and of course, their main concern will be the carbon dioxide as well as the particulate matter as well as the relative temperature and relative humidity and so on. Okay, and these are some data done in the past researchers. Okay, so for that, we develop an IoT system, okay, where we focus on the problems on the heavily exhaust happen in the laboratories, and then the problem two is on the ventilation and exhaust systems. We look into it, and the problem three is of course visual indoor quality index data, okay, which is RIDS. So these are three problems that spur into this project, and this is our objective. We just developed the IAQ alert system. Okay, we are using this time the IoT system of Raspberry Pi as our controller, and we are also using a dashboard display, which is known as a Grafana, a graphic user interface. Okay, and our second objective was to evaluate this air quality against the benchmark of IAQ guidelines. So mostly there's a few benchmark we can be using, which is the WHO benchmark, and we also have the our Department of Safety Health, DOSH, their own benchmark as well. So the components that we will be measuring is on the particulate matter, carbon dioxide, temperature, and relative humidity. These are the four components. And we'll be benchmarking with the particulate matter with the World Health Organization, or also in relation with the DOSH, because the benchmark between WHO and DOSH, they're quite more or less in a same, almost same value, just 2-3 degrees or 2-3 percentage differences. Okay, in terms of temperature, relative humidity, and carbon dioxide. And our area of our area of investigation will be on the material and automation as well as engineering workshop. We'll focus on these two. So this is actually a methodology we established, okay, where we use the sensors for the carbon dioxide, we use a sensor for temperature humidity sensor, particulate matter, and we use an interfacing system, a software, basically a node, which is hardware and software, to send a data, all these to the Raspberry Pi. And of course, Raspberry Pi comes with the micro SD card storage. And of course, we have a monitor over here connected where the software will be a Node-RED. Node-RED is actually interfacing software, and we have a database software which called InfluxDB. Okay, and we have the Grafana, which is actually the main user interface where anybody can see what's the temperature looks like, what's the particular, what's the the indoor air quality environment looks like. So in order to set a benchmark, so what we did was actually we developed a beacon light, okay, at the end of the system, where we in the algorithm we set the benchmark, okay, at what level can be the carbon dioxide level accepted, will be what level is the particulate matter, and what level will be the relative humidity and temperature and so on. So the baking light will basically give us an indication green or red, and of course the data visual dashboard always stated over here is actually from Grafana. We can see over it. So this is the methodology, right? And of course, this is the work that we have done. Okay, we have included all the system in one areas. This all the system has been placed. You can see on the graphics on your left, and you can see in the middle graphic, you can see the warning light display. Okay, the beacon light is the warning light tower. Okay, and this is interfaced with the Raspberry Pi 4, which is the main controller of the system. Okay. So this just a visual on the programming, okay, just to share with you how the programming of the node rate interfaces to the database, because with the data has to be stored before it's been displayed on real time to the Grafana dashboard. Okay. And I won't go that detail on this. Okay, these are just the algorithm of the flowchart of the softwares. And you can see this is the data storage backup setup. Okay, a backend setup. Okay, of the database. And this is the endpoint where anybody can see the user interface. Okay, so this is what real time we have recorded. We have managed to get the sensors running and the entire gadgets running, and we can see this is actually just an interface, but we have taken for both labs. Okay, a sample of the user interface have been screenshot, and we can see the temperature, relative humidity, carbon dioxide, and then we have PM10 and PM25. So these are the four things. However, the design of this dashboard can be extended to other parameters such as volatile organic compound and so on. Okay. So this is a complete system setup, okay, which have been displayed in the previous final projects and so on. And mind that the user interface here can be also interfaced with another tablet or something. So this the distance can be far away, which means that you don't have to be in the laboratory to view the data. It can be interfaced using an RS84485 mode pass or a TCP. You can also interface with the right settings. We can interface means that we can view the data right even from the lobby or from anywhere in front of the office and so on. So the result is that I've highlighted in the green here. This is the materials and automation laboratory, okay? And we have just done some statistical data, and we found out that the mean temperature is actually given in these records, okay? And this is the mean temperature of the temperature, the green one, and the mean values of the relative temperature humidity given. For your information, we did the experiment only for 3 days, okay, and this is subjected to the number of students, okay. I don't have the data on the number of students who attended, but according to my researcher, there was approximately 20 students or 15 to 20 students at one time in such labs, okay. And you can see that in the engineering workshop. Okay. Also, the mean is given. This is the data of the mean for 3 days of the temperature, and you can see the relative humidity, which is highlighted here, is given. And the color of here, which I mentioned here, is actually the green means that it is within the benchmark. Okay, the temperature is okay relatively, but the relative humidity is actually very high. Okay, if you compare the data over here, 79.8, this is an example where the mean is actually quite lower. That means there's is beyond the benchmark, either beyond or lower. So for the engineering workshop, we can see that the temperature is very high. Okay, is actually higher than the benchmark values, and the mean also the same thing for relative humidity is dropped. So carbon dioxide level for both laboratory, okay, for the workshop is very very high. Okay, according to DOSH, is standard has to be 1,000 parts per minute. But here, even though it's still acceptable, but relatively is still high for us. Okay, it also depends on the number of people in the laboratory at one time. Okay. So this is the particulate matter data we have taken for the materials and automation laboratory. So you can see the highlighted color red here is means that is actually uh, not acceptable. Okay, it's quite high. 70 and 76 is very very high for the 10 microgram per meter cube. But for the 2.5 size, we can see is quite high also, because the standard is usually around supposedly around 15, 10 or 15, and this is quite high actually. So you can see on your right hand side the guidelines. Okay, for PM 2.5, it has to be less than 15 microgram, and PM10 size particle is supposed to be less than 45, but you can see the data shows is very very high, which means that there is a quality concern on students breathing the air space in the materials and automation laboratory. So again, the engineering workshop also display a very very concern results. If you can see the workshop, the for the PM10 is very high. Okay, and you can see for the PM 2.5 is very very high, 31, 28, 40. So all these fail the benchmark of the guidelines. So this is actually a concern in our investigation. So in conclusion, in our system, okay, so far we have managed to use our indoor alert system. Okay, it works well, and our beacon has time to time highlighted this one, because we have benchmarked our algorithm in such a way the beacon light will turn on when there's air quality drops. Okay, whether it's from the either in the particulate matter, or even the carbon dioxide, or even the temperature and relative humidity. So the project is ongoing. Okay, because what we understand is that the at this currently the engineering workshop in the uh, is quite warmer, and it contains higher PM suspended on air. And of course, the project is looking into the next one is how do we want to improve the air quality in the affected laboratories over here, which is the we're conducting the air duct systems, addressing inadequate ventilations. We need to look at the exhaust systems, and of course thermal comfort. So this is all my presentation. If there's any questions, thank you.
Thank you so much, Premesh. Okay, and let us session finish so fast. Okay, so I would like to open the floor for question Q&A if anyone would like to ask further. All right, but I do have a question I would like to ask. Mm, so this is the indoor air pollution topic, right?
Yeah.
May I know what is actually what are the uh common cause that common thing that cause indoor air pollution?
Okay, indoor air pollution common cause thing is that actually there's various factors. Okay, one thing is of course location. Okay, another thing is that the activities that we do. Okay, and it also depends on what do we keep in the location. Okay, so there are many. I would not say it's in only just one particular area. Suppose if our laboratory is in an area where our surrounding outdoor is a very high pollution. Okay, there could be a chances of infiltrations through this outdoor into the air quality inside. And also it also depends if we have too many equipments, okay, which are bringing out many waste or odor or something, okay, and any activities where these particles has no way to go out, okay, the exhaust system is not inadequate to bring it out, to push out. So that can be an issue. And as well as there are cases where many of the equipments, okay, they emit an odor, okay, due to it could be the paint on the machine or any kind of a grease which is in the machine or any chemical which is part of it. So the chemical smell also can be a one part of a problem if we do not have if we are contained in a closed door environment where there's inadequate flow of ventilation. So there are many factors which influences the indoor air quality inside the I won't say it's only a laboratory. It could be in office space or in classrooms. Okay. Generally, most research has done in the office space more, but so far it's very niche in the laboratory areas.
So that is makes you choose the laboratory as a place compared, I mean, yeah, previous literature, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have another question. Okay, so what do you think? Okay, how does this IAP affect humans, and how can actually we reduce it?
What the question is? IAQ.
How does it IAP indoor this indoor air
Okay, indoor air.
pollution? How
Okay.
does it affect human in a long run, maybe? And I believe that this is one of your not just to say tools, like maybe things that can help to reduce this.
Okay, basically, as I mentioned, to reduce the indoor air pollution quality, okay, like I say, it also depends. First thing is what are we doing in a location? Okay, if it's at home, of course we keep so many stuff. You may keep kitchen stuff like aerosols. You may keep some cleaning liquid, and okay, where do you keep? Do you keep in the proper areas or what? Because sometimes, despite of you keeping in the exposure of air, you may not know that basically some aerosols may have a leak, okay, or some chemicals when you use them they have emit an a kind of smell and so on. So if every day you are overexposure with something, okay, which is can be a problem, you may not see in 1 day or 2 days and so on. Probably it could be depends on the intensity of the polluted component. Okay, depends on the intensity of the polluted and component. If the exposure is too prolonged, okay, that can be detrimental. Within 6 months probably you can have some nausea, or it could be give you a symptom like your eyes is watery or you're having sneezing, which you can dismiss as nothing got to do with the air. So these are possible problems you can happen, but in the long run keep frequent exposure can lead to problem. But I would say this is not to say that that it does not happen. It happens, but how fast it happens depends on the intensity of the polluted air. That's it. I hope I answer your question.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, yes, all right. So since we do have actually another two session presented. So thank you, Mr. Premesh.
Thank you very much.
All right. So I would like to maybe have another toilet break. We will see each other in 10 minutes, and then next will be Gautheman will be presenting his presentation. Okay, see you. Hello, good morning, everyone. Is Gautheman's there?
Yep. Hi, morning.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for waiting. So your
No worries.
session can you may start if you
Okay, sure. Let me just share my
have
screen.
a go. Okay, sure. The stage is yours. Have fun.
Sorry. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. This is our paper titled Effect of Compatibilizer and Plasticizer on the Mechanical Performance of PLA Tapioca Biocomposites. This was presented earlier this year at the International Conference on Advanced Engineering Materials and Composites 2024. This research is part of our broader research into PLA and tapioca starch. So this involves using additives and surface modifications and other things. I think Dr. Nisha presented a part of the research earlier. Okay, so to begin with, the reason this research was initiated was because there's an alarming issue right now due to single-use plastics and the waste generated by it. If we look at traditional plastics used in bottles, food packaging, and those kind of things, they are made from fossil fuel-based raw materials, so they're not sustainable. Number two, they don't biodegrade on their own, so they persist in our waters, our air, our land for thousands or more years. So I think to answer Aya Parmesh's earlier question, how's microplastic formed? So it takes about 10 to 100 years for bigger pieces of plastic to biodegrade into microplastics. So it depends on the type of plastic, depends on its exposure to UV, salt water, and other parameters. One of the biggest issues right now with single-use plastics is there's only 10% or less is recycled. So the remaining 90% it just like persists in the environment. Okay, so if we look at the figure on the right, you can see how the process of how it breaks down. It starts with bigger pieces, and over time it breaks down into smaller microplastics, which is ingested by marine life, aquatic life, airborne birds, and other things that we eventually consume, and it ends up in our bloodstream. So there's been a lot of research showing that there are microplastics in the human body. This leads to negative and non-reversible impact to the environment and human health. Okay, so right now I think we are in a very linear economy where our culture is to take, use, and throw. There's very low recycling, barely any circularity. So by using more bio-based plastics that come from sustainable resources such as plants and animals, we can create a more circular economy. So at the end, when it's disposed, it returns back to the environment to become a feedstock to generate new materials. Okay, why PLA? I think we've been talking about PLA a lot in recent times. Number one, it's because it's very comparable to traditional plastics. And this makes it very easy for the industry to adopt. It's derived from renewable resources such as corn, soy, wheat, and tapioca and other natural resources. Secondly, it helps reduce our GHG, our greenhouse gas emissions, because PLA consumes between 25 to 55% less energy compared to fossil fuels to generate the plastic. And most importantly, it is biodegradable and compostable, so we don't really have to worry about recycling. Some of the interesting aspects of PLA and tapioca biocomposites based from previous studies, they've noted significant cost reductions, has pretty good strength to weight ratio. It's low toxic, so it's quite suitable for food packaging applications, and it also has improved biodegradability. Some of the applications that can be explored is food packaging, agriculture, consumer electronics, casings, car interiors, 3D printing, and much more. However, the biggest issue faced with PLA and tapioca is poor interfacial bonding because one component is hydrophobic and the other one is hydrophilic. So this results in poor mechanical performance and limits its potential applications. So for this paper, the problem statement is PLA on its own is costly. So to address this, we'll be combining it with natural fiber, which will also help reduce its brittleness and improve strength. Next is the fundamental incompatibility between the two components. We will be addressing that by using a compatibilizer and plasticizer. These methods were selected because it is most easily adopted by the industry. It's just using additives. Okay, so the main aim of this research is number one, to compatibilize the blend to ensure proper interfacial bonding. Next is to determine the optimal composition, so the balance between PLA, tapioca, the compatibilizer, and the plasticizer. And lastly, we're going to do a very basic characterization to evaluate its mechanical performance. Okay, this is the methodology used in this study. First, we'll be combining PLA. We'll be using MA. We'll be grafting MA first onto the PLA backbone. We'll be combining that with EPO and tapioca using a Sigma blade mixer to come up with the resin that you see in this picture here. Next, we'll be using a tabletop injection molding machine to come up with tensile specimens for the basic characterizations. Okay, so these are our key results. You can see that the ones highlighted in green is the sample that we've selected for these reasons. Number one, the tensile strength was within the range of conventional plastics, especially for food packaging applications. So we were quite happy with those numbers. Elongation, you can see it's almost double to that compared without EPO, while the Young's modulus significantly decreased, which shows that it's improved in ductility and plasticity. If you look at the morphology, you can see that the compatibilizer use, which was MA, helped to improve the dispersion and evenness of tapioca within the polymer matrix. You can also see there's no agglomerations and no massive cracks. So these little voids that you see in S2 is actually the snatch out craters left behind by the tapiocas being snatched out during the tensile test. And if you look at the lower image at a higher resolution, you can see there are presence of microfibrils. So this denotes improved plasticity and also improved toughness. Okay, so this is the schematic of the reactions. So by using PLA and MA as a compatibilizer, MA as a compatibilizer, it it reacts with the hydroxyl groups of tapioca starch and links it with the carbon groups of the PLA chain. So this provides improved interfacial bonding. The use of EPO doesn't have a very strong chemical reaction per se, but it improves the polymer chain mobility. So if you can see in this diagram, it improves the spaces between while still keeping them connected. So this improves ductility and plasticity. So in conclusion, it was found that MA grafted onto PLA had a very positive impact on the compatibility, and EPO was successful in increasing the ductility and percentage elongation at even just a 2% loading. So some of the future works that we did look into was to develop optimized processing techniques, comprehensive characterization, and benchmarking against traditional materials. Okay, thank you. The study was also funded by the FRGS grant. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a very short and precise presentation. Okay, so I open the floor for anyone if you like anything to ask. Gautheman? So if you guys do not have any question, I do have a question. Not really, just a question. So, what can other things that can replace PLA? Since you said that the PLA is quite expensive, and uh, is there other obstacle to use PLA, and what things that can replace it?
Okay, so number one, to address the main issue of PLA's cost is, we can look into reducing its cost first. So one of the strategies is to use a biofiller. But another way is if it really catches on in the industry, the price will be driven down. When the price is driven down, it'll be very, very competitive to conventional plastics. Other alternatives, there are other plastics such as PHA, PVA, and other ones, but they're not very, very comparable to conventional plastics. It requires a bit more studies. So PLA was chosen because it's one of the most studied ones and the one that the industry finds to be the easiest to substitute current plastics.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Gautheman. So other than I understand that you choose tapioca because it's maybe easy to get in our country. So what other things that maybe can change tapioca?
So we can actually explore numerous other natural fibers. It doesn't have to be starch-based. So I think some of the most famous ones in Malaysia would be kenaf, sisal, jute, coconut hemp, those kind of things. So I think there's a lot of research on that area also.
Okay, all righty. Thank you so much, Gautheman. I think that is all question from my side. Okay, so we will like to call upon I think that's from your side is settled already. Thank you, Gautheman, for sharing such a wonderful topic. So Dr. Yong Mon, I understand that he got class that maybe he is available right now or before that week. Yes, yeah, here. Thank you so much. Welcome. I cannot hear you. I think you're mute. Are you muting yourself?
I'm so sorry. I hope you're able to
Okay,
hear me. I just came back from a
yes.
class, so just nice, just about time for me to present.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yong. So the stage is yours.
All right, just let me share my screen.
Yes, sure.
Okay, are you able to see my screen, Flora, and everybody else?
Yes, I can see it clearly. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so what I'm sharing today is really in terms of some of the present issue that I believe all of us face with the influx of the Chinese students into our campus. And again, it's not about Chinese students, but then again, when we think about it at this moment in time, we have an issue with that in terms of communication, basically. And in terms of the Chinese students' understanding of the lectures and the classes that's been conducted. Yeah. So the topic that I'd like to share with all of you for today is bridging the language gap and enhancing the academic performance of non-native students with an AI-powered translator. And we are saying here is that one of the solutions that we possibly can do to reduce the communication gap that we have with the Chinese student is through the use of a translator. Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit more in terms of the study that I've conducted in this regard. But first and foremost, from the introduction standpoint, why is there a big influx of Chinese students, especially into Malaysia and other parts of the other countries in Southeast Asia? It's simply because of the geopolitical development that's happening, especially in the traditional education hub, Australia. Yeah. And due to the tension between Australia and China, and also the lately curbing of international students into Australia itself was the reason why students, especially in China, they seek the other alternative to continue their higher level education. And it's not only higher education, but basically for education in general purpose. Yeah. So as a result of that, we are seeing a sharp rise in terms of international students enrollment in South Asia. Again, it's not only Malaysia, but Malaysia is one of the attractive site for students, for international students, simply because of our currency, which means to say that it provides an affordable educational services here, but at the same time, in terms of a language, and also because of the diversity as well. And international students studying in Malaysia account for between 130,000 and 170,000, according to media 2022. And we are increasingly seen as a global hub for higher education, especially for Chinese students that are studying in Malaysia. They've seen a 150% increase to a circa of 39,000 students, Chinese students, yeah, that have been enrolled. And majority of these students are enrolled into the private higher education institutions in Malaysia. The problem with Chinese students, especially and also other countries that do not generally have good English spoken capabilities in those countries itself, is that it generates a lot of disparity, between their understanding of the language that's being spoken here. And as you know, that English language is the lingua franca of the mode of communication, not only in the institution, learning institution, but also in the day-to-day communications, especially from the business as well. Yeah. So as a result of that, they have a lot of disparity, a lot of miscommunication, and as a result of that, it causes a lot of this psychological impact on the students itself. And sometimes it makes them to be very uncomfortable in terms of speaking, the language that required, which is our video instruction. And earlier, even in the class itself, just now I was approached by one of the students while I was doing my entrepreneurship class. Then this student barely know how to speak the English language, and we have to get a translator in order for she and I, or for both of us to communicate with one another. And sometimes I find it very strange though, and she is my student, and simply because of a lack of understanding in terms of the video instructions that we have to engage another student to act as an intermediary in terms of translating whatever that she wants to say to me, and for me, that to ensure that she really understands what I was talking about, to have that student then translate back from English back into the simple Chinese language. Yeah. So as a result of this, the psychological fear in students actually impacted the well-being and the negative evaluations of other peers as well. They think that, students, they do not really understand the language that we're speaking, poor students, but that's not the case really. But the very fact that it impacts them mentally and psychologically as well, right? And it affects the way that they socialize with other students. And because of their poor understanding of the language, of the topics that we're delivering in our lectures, sometimes it leads to different interpretations of what is being taught in class. So as a result of that, even their academic performance suffer. The question then is that, what can we do to improve the communications between us as a lecturer and that of students that come from a country, a nation that is non-English speaking? Yeah, can we do something about it? And one of the ways in my study is through the use of a language translator. And language translator is not something that's new. I would like to emphasize that because in the past it has been used before. But the problem is that in the past, the language translation, the way they said it is spoken, like for instance, when we are talking about the the first generation of the language translation is all about word by word translation, which is very rudimentary if you think about it. And when we talk about word by word, sometimes the way that we speak, our nuances, and sometimes the speech itself could mean a lot of different meaning. Yeah. And you will translate word by word, something sounds very funny, it may not be the case, yeah. And then the second generation is better, whereby you use the linguistic expert there to form certain sentences, right? And try to match them together. Say, hey, maybe it may not mean this, maybe it means the other way around, right? So they're using statistical means to really understand what would be the meaning of the language, or rather of the words that's being communicated. Yeah. But then again, that is still not good enough, because like you say that as a linguistic expert, I cannot know so much, right? I cannot self-learn, and every day there are new things that's coming out, new development in the way that people speak. New terminology is coming out, and how we're going to catch up when we're talking about so many different languages. You practically require to have all different language experts, to come together to really understand what this term means, what the terms mean, what is the phrase means, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and that's where the NMT comes in. NMT is basically the neural machine translation, where it actually go into deep learning process, self-learning process that's able to understand the pattern, right? The machine is able to self-correct it by understanding what is done. The interpretation that they have may not be quite correct, and is able to correct itself going forward, depending on the feedback that we receive, depending on the pattern of the conversations itself. Yeah. So pretty much a type of generative AI, generative artificial intelligence, to do the translation itself, which makes it more accurate in that sense, more accurate, more concise, and more precise in that sense. Yeah. So it is because of that was the reason why we are intrigued. Okay, first generation, second generation, if you're going to use third generation, would the third generation language translation be better off compared to the other? Right? So in that regards was the reason why we are using a neural machine translation to increase NNES, which is basically the non-native English-speaking people or student, increase their cognitive ability, and hopefully by doing that, it will improve their understanding of the subject that we're teaching, and that would then lead to a better academic performance. Yeah. So in that regards here, it raises 3 questions. The first question is that does the text-to-text mean to say that the material, the learning material that we use, if we were to translate the learning material into the language that is being communicated or spoken by the non-native English speakers, would that actually improve their understanding, enhance the NNES learner content interactions? Yeah, so that is the first question that I'd like to have, which is basically the material that's been provided to students to be able to translate that into the home country language would actually improve the communication. The second question that we have is on the interactions between the instructor and that of student. And in this regard, we are saying that if we were to use a speech-to-text NMT, that means to say that as we conduct our lesson in class real-time online, if we were to translate that into the home country students' language, would that actually enhance their learning capability? Would that actually enhance the interaction that we have with students? Would that actually improve the effectiveness of our lesson delivery to the student? Yeah. So this forms a second question that we have. And leading to the third one, by doing that, by having both the text-to-text learning material translated into the home country student language, and by delivering our lectures or our class in terms of the home country translated language, real-time online, would that actually create a conducive type of environment, a more inclusive type of environment that then lead to an improved academic performance of the student? Now, from a literature standpoint, NNT, let's say that has been proven to be better than the previous generations of language translator, right? And this has been testified by this author here, and they also shown that language translation actually develop learners' cognitive abilities such as communication competence, reading comprehension, writing qualities, and positive attitude. So all this is really proven that sure there is certain effectiveness in terms of machine translation. But the question then is how effective would that be? So it's generally a degree of accuracy. Degree of accuracy in the translation that makes the use of the translator to be effective for a certain mode of translation, for the certain purpose, intent and purpose. But the good news is this. The good news is that people actually, that author in his study, he actually conducted, a research to determine whether it meets the minimum requirement, and the answer to that is yes. It does. It meets the university minimum entrance requirement, which is very good for my study itself, simply because that, at least they achieved that. And we are doing this for higher education studies, yeah. So it fits in perfectly in that sense, yeah. So, and it also says here that there were testimony that says that the TTT or text-to-text translation, that is to say the change of the translation of the learning materials into that of the home country language is generally well accepted, yeah, in terms of fostering the learner content interactions. But having said that, again, STT is something that's generally unknown. Speech to text, that means to say that when I'm delivering the language translations real-time online in class, how effective is that? Not much is known about that, which is a good thing because then again I can utilize it in this studies to understand better, the effectiveness of STT in terms of enhancing the learner instruction interactions. And last but not least is obviously the academic performance, which is basically the bottom line. That's what I want to do. Yeah, I would like to improve students' learning performance, academic performance. Yeah, I would like to know that these students' performance is determined by their ability to understand the lessons being taught. And if you don't understand, then you do not know what you don't know. Yeah? So ultimately, you wouldn't be able to perform well, simply because that the instructions that you have received, you weren't able to interpret it in the correct way, that what is supposed to be interpreted. Yeah. So this is really something that I'm keen to use the translator to determine its effectiveness in terms of improving the NNES academic performance. So there you go. So based on that, I came up with a conceptual framework that's grounded on SOR, or stimulus organism response. Stimulus is basically an external stimuli. In this case, the external stimuli is the use of neural machine translation. Okay, it's something that triggers we call that triggers the intrinsic mechanism in the student itself, the reaction in the student itself in the form of organism. All right, so by having that, then you put them probably in a better frame of mind to learn, to acquire better result, right? To acquire better skills, and that lead on to the response, which is basically from the behavior itself. They will be able to exhibit better student capability in the form of better academic performance. Yeah. So from that regards itself, there are three hypotheses that's been developed in response to the three research objectives. The first research objective is really to understand the text-to-text translation, the learning materials. Yeah, how learning materials, when you translate it into home country language, or rather, home country language, would then lead on to better learner content interactions. Yeah. And similarly, if we're talking about TTT, we also talk about STT. Would the same applies if the translations would happen real-time online in class itself? Would that actually improve the learner instruction interactions? Which is this R2, yeah. And by the combination of the R001 and 02, which is basically the learner content interactions and learner instruction interactions, would actually create a conducive environment, a better conducive environment, a more inclusive environment. And through that, generally improving their understanding, the comprehension of the study that we conducted, and ultimately leading to a better academic performance. This is basically the three things that I want to find out, or rather we want to find out. Okay, then this is developed into the three hypotheses itself, which I do not want to go into detail. Now, what we really want to do is spend a bit of time to explaining the methodology that's involved here. We are using a two-phase stratified single-stage cluster sampling. So from a sampling perspective, in our experiment, what we did was that we used the number of undergrads and postgrad. This was actually done twice, first with the undergrads and then with the postgrad itself, to ensure that the result of this is not only confined, or rather it's not only determined by the level of education, but generally it's applicable to a different level of educations as well, right? So in a way, that's a good thing, because that tells us that these findings that we have can be more generic in a sense, rather than something that is just confined to a particular level of students. So from the total populations itself, that it is broken down into the control group and experiment group. So this is basically the first phase that what we are doing. Yeah, the control group and the experiment group. So the difference here is the control group will continue not to use the translator, whereas the translator is only given to the experiment group. Yeah, the experiment group. And then the second phase of the stratification here is where we then segregate the control group and the experiment group into equal cluster of participants in accordance to their language ability. Yeah, we have the LA, which is the low level language ability, and then we have MLA, which is the medium level, and we have HLA that denotes a high level language ability. That means to say that the ability to understand, the ability to comprehend in accordance to the medium of instruction. Not the home country language, but the host country language, which is basically English language. And how do we go about determining that is through the IELTS into the language test they've gone through before they enter into the varsity here. Now, in terms of the approach that we are using is what we term as the convergent parallel mixed method. Convergent parallel mixed method. How this method works is basically we have qualitative and quantitative combined together, and we conduct both parallelly. That means simultaneously, at the same time. So it is not exploratory, it is not explanatory mixed method, but it's a convergent parallel mixed method. Okay. Now, talking about the approach here, it's segregated into 4 different phases. All right. The first phase is diagnostic, where we really determine the capability, the language capability of the student. Segregate them in terms of sampling, cluster sampling, or stratification sampling. And then the formative is where we actually test them. Summative is that we look at the result, and the integrations is where we look at the 2 strands of qualitative and quantitative joining together and then interpret the findings itself. Now, from a qualitative standpoint, let's talk about qualitative. It's where we conducted a semi-structured interview with the students prior to them even starting the class itself, the first day of class, that they conduct the structured interview, asking them about what's the perceptions of translator, how they feel about it, and things like that. At the same time, the questions is given to both control as well as the experiment group. And then at the end of the sessions itself, which is here, we conducted another semi-structured interview with the same group of students to understand, have their opinion change, have the perception change, how they feel about it, how they feel about the translator, things like that. So then a comparison is made between before and after to give you a little bit of view to understand where the gap is, the differences are. and things like that. Now, from the quantitative perspective, we first and foremost, we evaluated what would be the best language translation to use. Yeah. So in this case here, we have a community, we form the translation community approach, where we got three person here, 2 lecturers and 1 person from China, to really understand whether Microsoft or Google is a better approach. The reason why you're only using these two is simply because that it's free freeway. So we do not want to spend a lot of money on that. So we basically using these two tools. Then to evaluate, we put in a few phrases that to evaluate which of these two tools are more accurate. And also the convenience of using it. And we ultimately prefer Microsoft simply because that our PowerPoint is an MS. All right, and we find that it's more convenient for you to use it. And generally, in terms of the translation, both translations are equally good in that sense. Yeah, good, accurate in that sense. Yeah. So that once we have broken up into control and experiment group here, right? For the control group, as what I mentioned earlier on, for the Chia weeks, they are just given the normal classrooms activity, yeah, without the use of the language translator. Whereas for the experiment group, the first 5 weeks, similar to that of the control group, they are not given any translations at all. They just continue to be taught in the same way, right, as that of the control group. But everything changed at the end of the 5th week. On the 6th week, language translations is introduced. TTT as well as STT were introduced to the student. Yeah, and the learning materials will given to them in the form of the home country language, and also for the speech to text, real life online. When I talk, is directly translated into the home country language, which is in this case in the simplified Chinese language for the student. And what we did is that we want to assess the student progressively. Yeah, so we have this weekly formative assessment where I was telling the student, hey, look, at the end of the topic that I delivered in that particular week, right, at the end of the lesson itself, nobody did the class until they completed a simple quiz. Right, the quiz here basically relates to the topic that I delivered on that particular day. Right, and to avoid any confounding variables, yeah, that could have impacted the student. If they were to get out of class, they could talk to others, or they could do some referencing and things like that. So in order to avoid all these confounding variables, basically what I did was that I put them all into class. They have to complete the quiz before they're allowed to leave the class. This is where I just want to confine and make sure that it's in the controlled environment. And at the end of the 10th week, what I did was that I did 2 comparisons. The first comparison is to compare between the control group and that of the experiment group on a like-to-like basis. That is to say, people or students with the same language ability. And the second thing I did was that I compared, again, do a comparison between the experiment group, people of different language ability. Now, the reason why I'm doing that, because I want to look at the gap, see whether the gap has closed between those of the low language ability, the middle language ability, and that of the high language ability. So basically, these are the the analysis that I've done. And then ultimately, we validate and we interpret the findings between the quantitative and qualitative, and then that goes into ultimately the chapter 5 discussion. Yeah. All right. Now, this is the findings. The findings from the analysis that were undertaken. The findings shows that as far as the text-to-text NMT is concerned, the neural machine translation is concerned, that generally everybody has improved. They heard about the low level, the medium level, and the high level, right? But the improvement is most notable in LLA compared to that of MLA. And of course, the HLA has the least improvement. But then again, we accept the fact that there's still nevertheless some improvement there. So in that regards, that each one is supported. Now, from an STT perspective, this mixed result, we found that LA and to a certain extent MLA may benefit a little bit, but not so much in terms of HLA because of the inaccuracy. There's still a lot of inaccuracy, mind you. It's not that because it's MMT is perfect. No, it's not. There's still a lot of imperfection. But having said that, again, when I went to the class, I was telling the class, you just cannot read it word by word and look at it in the entire context itself. Yeah, so as to foster better understanding. Because if you try to read word by word, sometimes it will be quite difficult simply because of the inaccuracy that's been involved there. Yeah, so in this regard here, H2 is partially supported. And it's interesting though here that I'm showing you the result of my analysis here, right, between the control group and that of the experiment group. And you're able to see, I'm using Cohen's D, which is looking at the effect size. And effect size means to say the comparison between the two parties, how big is the gap, yeah? And you notice here that before between the week 1 and week 5 is 0.2, and then week 7 and 10 is 1.475, which means to say that the gap between the control group and the experiment group has actually enlarged, become bigger. Yeah, become bigger in all this. Which means to say that there's certain effect that the translation actually helps in terms of improving the comprehension of the studies itself. And basically, I introduced the effect size change, where we actually look at the difference between the before and after to determine the effect size change. And the effect size change, you can see that it's all generally very, very positive, except for HLA. You can see that it's negative here, meaning to say that between control and experiment, not much of a difference is there. Yeah. So as a result of that, you don't see a big gap. So, and that's the reason why I was telling you earlier on that from STT perspective, HLA is partially, the H2 is partially supported simply because that the HLA do not gain a lot from the use of the translation. Interesting though, this is on the H2 or H1, where we actually look at the differences between the different levels of language ability. Actually, I'm comparing those with the low level, with the medium level, low level with the high level, medium with the low, medium with the high. That sort of comparison itself. And it is interesting to note here that there's a general improvement where you're able to see that the gap has actually becomes smaller in that sense. Yeah. So if you look at this, if I were to compare LA with MLA 0.448 compared to the control group, yeah, the control group LA between LA and MLA is 0.743. So 0.743 has actually reduced to 0.448. And if I were to compare LA with that of HLA, that has improved to negative 1.146, and without that, it's still a positive of 1.257. Yeah, and if I were to compare MLA with that of HLA for undergrad, usually it's undergrad, is negative 0.969 versus that of 0.818. So generally, there's an improvement. The gap between the low level, medium level, and high level actually improves. Yeah, which is a good thing. Yeah, so it's all reflected here. Okay, so I'm not going to talk so much in terms of the findings because of what I explained just now. So in this regards here, it shows that the academic performance of the students has generally improved. Not so much in terms of HLA, right, but more so in terms of the low level and also the medium level ability student. All right. So from that regard, it shows that first and foremost, the TTT or text-to-text translation is supporting the past study that says that it improves learners' content interactions, especially for LA. LA find that it is very, very helpful, very helpful to improve their understanding. From the STT perspective, again, LA has benefited a lot in terms of understanding and communication. I would like to emphasize the point that it is not perfect. There's still a lot of inaccuracy there, but generally they are able to absorb better, right? The connective transfer as a result of the use of translator helps that a lot compared to students of higher ability. The problem that we have is not STT, it's not MLT, it's not the LLA, it's not MLA, it is the HLA. HLA finds that the tool is quite destructive, right? Simply because that, that they are already well versed in the middle of instruction. Yeah. Just like local students by them, and for them to force them to read the language translated, that sometimes it can be quite annoying in that sense here, right? So sometimes they feel very irritated there, and that has in a way distorted their connective transfer. Okay, the utility of STT NMT, I say, has an inverse relation with the learner's language proficiency. That is to say that as the learner's language ability improve, they find that STT utility become less and less. It's less and less useful. Yeah, so there is an inverse relationship between the two. Having said that again, LA, the low-level language students have benefited the most, right? Followed by NMT. Okay, in terms of understanding of the lecture, right? In terms of the enhanced learner content interactions, right? And also the instructor learners interactions as well. All right. Now these are the implications. First and foremost, in terms of language translation, we found that we did some experiment offline. We found that it may not be suitable for all languages, especially those languages that are not commonly used. You don't have enough trained corpora. Trained corpora are basically the pattern words that you're able to match them together, yeah, to form the meaning of what was the original words and what was the translated words, yeah, to match them together. So if you don't, if the language is not frequently used, like for instance, Bahasa Malaysia, you don't have enough trained corpora. Sometimes because of that, the inaccuracy will be higher. Yeah, the inaccuracy will be higher as a result of that. And the other thing that we learned from here is that punctuation is very important, because punctuation will then drive the STT. There are two levels of interpretation. First level is the STT works in terms of capturing, the phrase itself, and then you move on to the second, the second phase where you actually translate whatever that has been translated from the STT into the words of the home country language, yeah, and then they display it out. That's how it works. But the question then is, how do you know that the people who are speaking, the speaker, has actually completed the sentence, before they capture and translate that? It is through the use of punctuation. Like for instance, if you speak now, you stop. Okay, that serves as a punctuation. That serves as a period, right, at the end of the sentence, and that is when the system captures that and translate it. So if you were to use, if you were to speak continuously in the long and complex sentences, sometimes that will increase the inaccuracy of the translation itself. So the best is use something that's simple, short and simple. Okay, by doing it short and simple, the translation quality will be very much better, and it will definitely improve the grammar structure. Yeah. The other thing is the technical jargon. Again, if you use those technical terms that has not been trained, that the system do not really understand and what you're talking about, then it will result in inaccuracies. Yeah, and that's the reason why language translation is not really suitable for all sorts of subject. The subject like engineering, that involve a lot of technical terms, so sometimes it can be quite difficult, simply because that those are terms that's not fully been trained in the corpora before, right? So for them to use it will be quite difficult for them to translate. Yeah. So, but yeah, talking about business study is not a problem, because I'm from the business school, and generally, a lot of things that we speak, we don't really use a lot of technical jargons unless we're talking about theories and concepts. Other than that, if it's not, then it's just basically the normal language that we have. Okay, SOR theory is good. Okay, we found that it's able to explain the effect of NMT. The only thing that it cannot explain is the intrinsic part of it, the psychology part of it, right? Now, how does it motivate the NNES to learn? That's the part of it that we weren't able to, we were able to explain. And this could be enhanced through the use of two-factor, I suppose. Two-factor is where you look at the hygiene and the surrounding area there that make the place very conducive, right? So we are not only talking about the translator, we are talking about the environment of which the students is learning as well. And then we talk about the motivators itself. Here's something goal is something that the student really want to learn. Yeah. So even if the student do not want to learn, no matter what you do, it will still not result in a productive transfer of knowledge. Yeah. So basically, that's what we discovered from the use of SOR. And finally, we think that this NMT has a lot of potential, especially in the Malaysian dual language program that's been advocated by the Mali government, and also the a lot of states government that also advocating this, the use of dual language. We also think that there's a high potential that this can be used for the deaf and mute community itself. Not really in terms of the speech to text, not really in terms of the language itself, but then again, in terms of the using the avatars, with the gestures and things like that. That will really help them to comprehend better. Yeah. So again, there are a lot of uses for this. It's not only confined to speech, but speech to avatars is always possible. Limitations, this is only for Chinese NNES. We haven't done it for others simply because that we don't have the volume to do that, unfortunately. Yeah, and NMT can be used for different type of education, but with a little bit of caveat that if you would assess that you have a class full of students, either local students or students, foreign students, like students from China, they have very high language ability. Don't use it because it causes a lot of distractions. They don't generally like it. So normally, when we go to class, we'll generally ask, how many Chinese students there, and then maybe at the end of the class itself, and gather them, and then probably talk to them a little bit in terms of understanding their language ability, the communication ability, before I start using language translator. Most of the time, if I find that they are okay, I don't use it. Again, NMT is not ready for critical business dealing, public forums, or teaching of STEM courses simply because of the technical jargons and simply because of inaccuracy, right? I have emphasized before, and I'm still emphasizing that is not perfect, right? So especially when you're talking about agreement and things like that, do not use machine translation. Yeah, do not use machine translations. The human translator is still the best. Okay. But having said that, again, because of the development of NMT that goes into deep learning and neural network, I think it has a lot of potential going forward. Because of one thing, self-learning is able to self-learn, able to understand, able to correct its own flaws to certain statistical mean and certain patterns. And going forward, I think one of those days in a not too far future, it can be agnostic too. Yeah, with the agnostic tool, it can be applicable even for STEM courses and other public business dealing as well. I want to end off, ladies and gentlemen, by sharing with you that this language translation is actually in practice today. A number of our lecturers in the School of Business, they're actually using that. Like you see that Mr. Lau is using that in his class. Puan Nora, our academic department head, can see that at the bottom here, she's using that for her translation for her class as well. That some of the students, especially those students with low level language ability, finds to be very useful. And we have Stella here. Stella is also using that as well for her class. And she also found it very interesting. I have also requested the student to do a survey for me to understand how they feel about the language translation itself, and the feedback is generally very, very positive. Yeah, very positive. All right. And for myself, this is what we did during my lecture. I also used the language translations as well. You can see that they're all here, right? So in addition to that, what I have also here is a text-to-text translation. This text is in English, and the other text is in Chinese. Yeah. So this is a master. We have a master and slave mode. So as I begin to change the slide, I change the master slide, the the slave slides will change as well, and it's smart enough to be driven by the master. Yeah, but through the use of this, you require to have another software, which we term as the Office Word software, that I purchased and I incorporated in. And through this, interestingly, in addition to one language, I can actually translate to other languages as well. Let's say, for instance, here I translate into Chinese language, and the other side I can translate into Bahasa Malaysia, say, for instance. I can do that as well. So again, the opportunity is infinite, is enormous, right? It's just a matter of how we are able to use that creatively to enhance student learning, to get them to understand the lesson better, and hopefully by doing that, ultimately we are able to get a better academic result from the foreign students. Thank you very much. That's all I need to present.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yong. Such a interesting topic. Earlier on, we have all from SOE, so you're the one only from SOB. Thank you for sharing. I actually have a question, but you already answer it.
All right, good.
Yeah. It's the STEM. So I understand for like a different subject, STEM subject is maybe inaccurate to use this kind of, okay, so I understand that. So is there anything that you would like to emphasize or let us know before we finish the session?
Well, there's one thing though that as we begin to evolve, one of the limitations here is that because you're only projecting one language or maybe maximum two languages on the screen itself. The question then is that if you have a room full of people of different nationalities, then how is it that you are discriminating the others for the sake of certain foreign students? Then the question is, that's not fair, right? I mean, if I'm from Africa, why should I care about your Chinese language, right? But I do not understand the English language, and what am I going to do, right? Well, the good news is that Microsoft actually developed something they call live presentation, right? And this is not available in Microsoft. This is available in the web. So if you want to do that kind of presentations, you present it in using in what they term a Microsoft Live presentation, right? In a Google Drive, and when you present it, there will be a QR code. And what the audience need to do is to capture the QR, scan the QR code, and look at the screen, and then select the language that they want to be translated. Voila! And then they would have everything there to follow. And you don't need to have any translation on your screen itself, but they would have that on their handphone. And then they just follow whatever they just say. Fantastic development. Like I say, a lot of things are developing that. But again, this is my study. I just want to share the study that I have.
Interesting. Yes. Knowledge is powerful. So thank you so much, Dr.
You're most
Yong.
welcome.
Okay, I would like to, I think that's from our side also. I think we already finished everything. I mean, all the presenter has been presented earlier. So this is a great pleasure to thank everyone for being there today. We had exciting session shared earlier, and we hope that we leave today inspired and rich and with new spirit and ideas to carry forward. Once again, thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.